Welcome to another edition of Roundtable. My name is Paul Dingaman. Glad to have you along. As you already know, this program gives us an opportunity to sit down with people from the community who have important jobs, important functions in the community, spend a little more time with them than we normally do on other programs. Today is no different. We welcome back to the focus set from the 25th District of the State Senate, Senator Phil Pavlov. Welcome back.
Hey,
nice
it's great to be here with you, Paul.
It's been a few months since we've had you on. It's been a busy fall for you as an election time. And
right.
What did that election mean to you?
Well, it meant an enormous amount of work. We have a brand new district that takes up part of northern Macomb County, all of St. Clair County, all of Sanilac, which is new, and all of Huron. So we really go from New Baltimore to Port Austin. So the last almost 2.5 years, we've been meeting with folks in the Thumb and learning what's important to them. And you know, we were successful in November and reelected to our last term in the Senate. So I'm really excited to get started.
So this term will expire when?
In 2018.
2018. So you've got a lot of work to do and accomplish between 2015 and the next 3.5 years.
Going to be busy.
Going to be busy. 2014, give me a highlight of what you think happened in the legislature in Michigan that affected us in St. Clair County.
Well, it's going to affect us all. We, in 2014, at the end of 2014, we saw the lowest unemployment rate in nearly 8 years. People are getting back to work, so we've got a stronger economy. Our budget still remains, a concern. We have a lot of lingering costs from the past that the state of Michigan is addressing in a very upfront way. So we, 2014, 2013, we spent a lot of our effort dealing with some long-term liabilities and really restructuring how state government operates. Many things the public isn't going to see, but the effect of it you will, because we've got a stronger, structurally balanced state budget, and we're moving in the right direction.
One of the things that's been in the press in the last few days is the state police building, which was built for $70 million or something under a previous administration, and now they're going to move back to Diamondale. Yeah,
that's been a concern for me ever since I've been in the State House of Representatives. I had never supported building that facility downtown for a number of reasons. At a time when government really needed to be watching its pennies, to move an operation that is so sophisticated that the state police actually operate over in a secondary complex just didn't make a lot of sense. And, since 2010 when they moved in, it just never was a good fit. So it looks like they're turning the page on that.
A lot of new faces in both the Senate and the House.
Right.
A lot of term limits last fall. What happened during the lame duck? It wasn't as wild and controversial as it was a year ago.
Well, 2 years ago it was the wild one. This one, I think it matches it in terms of some of the things that we did. We passed over 130 bills in lame duck. And a lot of them are, from legislators who've been working on things probably sometimes for their entire career and wanted to get to the governor's desk and get some legacy work completed. But I think the big story out of lame duck was the road funding issue that was actually voted on. Over 15 bills were passed, with the 16th bill being a resolution to put on the ballot in May the opportunity for the voters to decide if they want to raise the sales tax in the state of Michigan. So that was really the biggest one. A hard-fought battle. I was not supportive of the measure. But the voters will get an opportunity to make that decision early in May.
So you voted no on it.
Right.
But the majority ruled in the case, and it's going to be on the ballot.
It's going to be on the ballot, and the voters will get an opportunity. I would suggest that they study it very closely because it's a pretty comprehensive plan. There's a few $100 million in there that they'll be voting for that would go to public education. Is
that a positive or a negative?
It's a positive, I think, if people are willing to support it. But all wrapped up, it's about $1.7 billion a year in new taxes. So
your basic objection was new taxes, probably.
Well, new taxes, and we're at a point in Michigan's economy where we're finally catching our breath. I mean, if you take a look today at gas prices, in many days of the week it's under $2 a gallon. That has a huge impact on the working people of Michigan. They're starting to get some relief. And at a time when, it's been touch and go for a while. So families are seeing a little bit of relief. Businesses that rely on at high energy costs are doing much better. That allows them to put people back to work. So I've always been of the faith that we could probably find more revenue within the general fund to invest in our roads like we've been able to invest in other areas of state government, including public education.
The governor last year in his State of the Union talked about tax cuts.
Yeah.
You guys did go through and get some, didn't you?
We did. The voters back in August approved a plan to begin reducing down the personal property tax in Michigan, and that's the tax that you're paying on your equipment in your studio. It's what restaurants pay on their equipment. It's what machine shops pay on theirs. So that's something that we're removing because, first of all, no one in the Midwest has that tax anymore. And secondly, it's a barrier to job growth. And so the voters overwhelmingly approved the elimination of that tax, and that's been a boost to Michigan's economy.
You sit on the, still chairman of the House or the Senate Education Committee?
Yeah, I was reappointed to the Education Committee in the Senate, and I was also appointed vice chair of the appropriations for the K-12 budget. So we're going to be on both sides of that issue area. I'll be back vice chair.
Been a hot seat.
It has been a hot seat. And I think
everybody has a better idea.
Well, everybody has. People take their public education very seriously. There's no question about it. And people have a strong connection to their schools. And what we've seen in Michigan over the last 4 or 5 years is enrollment is plummeting. And districts are caught with a shrinking customer base that's tied to funding. So we hope that we've stabilized the population for our schools, but families are smaller. And you're having less kids today, and that shows up in the budgets of all of our local districts.
Algonac's already made a number of changes in their district. East China Township has a study committee going with 21 or 22 people involved, which is a great committee. They're looking at all sorts of possibilities, closing schools, merging different schools, high schools, grade schools, that kind of stuff. The legislature a year or two ago came up with an evaluation system. Is that under your
yeah, those are things that we're working on, and we'll begin in earnest again in 2015 to build an evaluation system that accurately and fairly evaluates all of the teaching professionals in Michigan. So we need a little bit more time to get that right. We want to make sure
it's a scary thing for somebody who's never had it done.
Well, they've been doing it since 2009, and what we're trying to do is look at the experiences that districts have had. And my emphasis is on let's let the districts determine how their teachers are performing. It's really not necessarily Lansing's role. We can't understand what's happening in the classroom as well as principals and school building leaders can there. So the focus is going to be on the local initiative to be able to get it right, and I think they will. I'm very confident.
Funding levels, do you see anything changing there in 2015?
Well, last year in our 14-15 budget, we were able to get about $150 more per student back into the districts. And I think with the growing economy, while there's parts of our economy and state government that aren't seeing the growth, the school aid is, because we're getting the money that comes in the school aid comes in the form of Michigan income tax.
Okay.
So when you reduce unemployment, you've got more people paying state income tax. It's very simple. The Michigan sales tax, if you look, November was a record year for all of our autos. December will probably be the same. And the vehicles that are being sold today as a result of affordable gasoline are the bigger trucks, which have the higher profit, which have the higher sticker. And what we see at the state is we see larger income tax revenue and sales tax revenue coming in. And that goes primarily to school aid. So we're really healthy in that area. Some other parts that, we're still dealing with some lingering effects on legacy costs. But
there was a report, though, last week that the financial concessions, or what do they call that?
The Revenue Estimating Conference.
The numbers were down a little bit.
The numbers are down in GF. But the school aid showed growth.
So
the money that general fund is still down because we had some tax credits and some liabilities that came through that were kind of unexpected.
Right. That's right.
But school aid is still strong, so we hope to do good things.
There
with that
was
budget.
a variance in the amount of money each district got. Some did get the 150. I know that East China got like 50.
Yep.
So there was a hue and cry of inequality, but that's a whole other discussion.
And in our own district in East China, we met immediately with them. And here's the reality. East China, out of all the districts I have now between New Baltimore and Huron County, they're the highest funded district because of some remnants of Proposal A prior to 1994. So the whole idea with Proposal A was to make education funding equal across all districts. And so this year, the districts that were at the bottom of the funding scale got $3, and the districts that were at the top got $1. So it was a 3-to-1 split, and it's intended to get equality of state funding across all districts.
You hear that Proposal A is been around for a long time. Do you ever see any comment in Lansing that maybe you should review of that?
Yeah, I think it's always part of a conversation. Proposal A did really well for our school districts for 15 years in growing economies. But when you have what happened in 2008 and 9 when our economy just bottomed out, those revenues are predicated on increasing volumes. We didn't have that for several years. We've turned the corner now, and the picture's a little bit brighter.
While we're in the school area, let's talk about job training and how that's being affected, tech education and all that.
It's a big part of the growing segment of public education. We know that the jobs that are available and open today don't necessarily match up with the workforce that we have living and working in Michigan. So when we look at welders and wind energy and all of the other areas of career tech education that have openings, we're working really hard to realign our training with the jobs that are available. In 2010, the governor appointed me to a workforce development program where we've been studying this. So the result is we're putting more money into our community colleges so that they can invest in the tools and equipment they need to train the next workforce. Also putting an emphasis on the career tech certificate programs, because we know for a number of reasons, our students aren't going to graduate and go sign up at Central Michigan or U of M. They're going to take different paths for a number of reasons. College is getting expensive. The debt is an issue. So we want to be able to encourage the training that's going to put people to work today.
Encouraging training, does that mean more money coming? You did say
it does. It does. A couple things that we've invested in.
I have to say the St. Clair Tech lost an election last fall. So they had to close some classes down and lay some teachers off.
Right.
So they need to somehow adjust that.
What we're trying to do is take a realistic look at where is our capacity, where can we invest in the training dollars. And so a couple things that we did last year to help encourage career tech education is we changed some merit curriculum requirements to allow these students in 10th, 11th, 12th grade to be freed up to pursue some of those career programs. So, and then in additional investment, we invested almost $6 million into the FIRST Robotics program. That's a statewide program. I think we have 9 school districts that have adopted this after-school program to get kids and students working on innovative robotics and statewide competitions. So we're spurring it, and STEM education is certainly part of our priorities.
One of the discussions has been year-round schools. Does your committees, both the ones that you work on, are you looking at that too?
Yeah, we invested an additional, I think, $5 million last year for districts to go and plan and to do the pre-work that they need to accommodate a balanced calendar. It doesn't necessarily start with year-round school, but it moves that calendar to a year-round basis. Croslex is one district that has done it. There are a couple schools in Port Huron school districts that are going year-round. It offers new flexibility, and it gets more utilization for the school buildings. But I think the key is, and where the science is leading us in this area, is that you're eliminating that gap from summer vacation into September. So I think the students are a little bit more focused. And it's a different calendar. It's very different than the agrarian 150-year school calendar that we've had. And it's being met by parents in pretty positive ways.
150 years ago, you had to work in the yard. To work on the farm in order to bring the crop in.
That's right.
And we just had a speaker at Rotary today. Was from the Gamma Farm up in Marlette, and they're doing 3,000 head of cattle, and it's all automated. It's all there aren't people working there.
Yeah, they're not after school with a hoe out in the field. This is automated, high-tech agriculture today.
Absolutely amazing. There was a thing in the news a couple days ago about that Lansing is spending money to evaluate how you're spending money in schools or something?
Well, there was a bill that was part of the road funding package that required a study to be done to really try to find how much it costs to educate a student
So
in Michigan.
schools are getting $7,000 or some number near there.
Right.
So now what you're going to do is try to study to find out what's
Is that
happening with
enough?
that 7?
Yeah,
Okay.
is that enough? And
No.
are we spending it appropriately? It's never enough. And that we already know the answer and
Right.
the outcome of that test. So that's really what it is. It's an effort to, to address the cost, to address the future, and to address, the funding levels to see if they're appropriate or not.
You were a co-sponsor with the governor, or on a bill that the governor just vetoed. Talk to me about that regarding concealed weapons.
Yeah, it's the second time the governor has vetoed this bill, and both times for different reasons, essentially. But today, Michigan is a shall issue state. So if you don't have shall issue,
Okay.
which means if Paul Dingaman comes in and says, I want to be able to be a concealed weapons carrier,
Okay.
if you don't have a felony, our state constitution says the state of Michigan shall issue you a permit to carry. It's your constitutional right, Second Amendment. And what has happened over the years is, not so much in St. Clair County, but in some of the bigger counties, you've been forced to go to a review board, and that review board can sometimes take up to 6 months, 9 months to review what is constitutionally your right to carry that concealed weapon. So we've eliminated that gun board and put the function. Yeah, well, that was part of the bill that got vetoed.
Yeah.
So we were contemplating removing that and putting that function within the state police, where they do your background check anyway, regardless. So we were trying to automate and streamline that system a little bit, but there was some hiccup in the bill that there was a perception that it could violate personal protection orders.
Oh, okay.
And so the governor had an issue with that. I think what will happen is a new bill will be introduced very soon that addresses that specific issue on PPWs.
2015 looks like an exciting year for you and for the state legislature.
Yeah.
Any surprises we should see?
Well, I think you're going to see a focus as it relates to education on literacy. I think you're going to there's going to be a big conversation going on with third grade reading. That's going to be driven by the governor. I think part of the education is we're going to take another look at urban education in Michigan and determine, how we can better serve some of these urban communities who have been, struggling with education delivery. But on top of that, we're also going to be moving into the budget season, and so we know we're going to be dealing with a little bit less in the general fund. So there'll be some challenges to work out. We'll have a new legislature, which will be exciting. Probably
You're the old man
members.
now.
Yeah. Well, with 11 years of experience, this is as much as you can get at this point in our career. So term limits has an effect on longevity and the experience, but I'm excited.
It's been quite a ride for you. You started out, we were talking before we started, 2005 as a county commissioner, and then became a state rep, and now a state senator. Are you going to go on to governor and president?
I'm just a few $100 million short of being the governor, but
there's another topic that's going to be a great campaign. Are you supporting any candidate?
I haven't made a decision yet. We're going to look at the field, and
should be a crowded field.
Yeah, it's going to be a crowded field, and
at least in the spring.
Yeah, and it's going to drive a lot of advertising and a lot of TV. And by the time everybody's done with it in 2016, they'll be sick of it. But it's the process that we have, and it's how we form up our government. And I always encourage folks to get involved and see. The elections have consequences, and November was a point where the people of Michigan voted, for what is likely going to be a more conservative government. So, hold your legislators accountable. And I know that as I travel through the community, people are always checking on things.
Well, you've got a bigger territory to cover now.
It's a beautiful territory.
Yeah, that's right. And
got a lot of lakefront.
A lot of lakefront. You don't go all the way to Bad Axe, do you?
Oh, Bad Axe and north. The entire tip of the thumb.
Tip of the thumb.
Right up to the tip in Port Austin and Caseville.
Good luck and have safe travels.
Thanks very much.
That's about it for this edition of the Roundtable. Till next time, I'm Paul Dingaman. Thanks for watching.